Today is Friday, and the weekend is approaching again. Bored and unsure of what video to make, I followed my usual routine and checked out my goddess Palki Sharma's Vantage. One news segment caught my attention. Based on my understanding of her intelligence, I knew she was once again fabricating fake news, talking about topics she clearly doesn't grasp. The video's title was "China Unveils Its New Deep-Sea Weapon, a Cable Cutter." Its main point was that China has revealed a machine capable of cutting at 4,000 meters underwater, accusing China of being responsible for severed undersea cables in places like the Baltic Sea. She expressed confusion about why China would develop such technology, claiming it poses a threat to the world. However, as she herself mentioned in the video, China's deep-sea equipment can perform high-intensity cutting at 4,000 meters, far deeper than most undersea cables. So, as long as her brain still functions, she should realize this equipment obviously isn't designed for cutting cables, since the deeper you go underwater, the harder it becomes to operate. Clearly, China has new demands in deep-sea exploration and development. As a global leader in deep-sea technology, China has created various deep-sea tools, primarily to explore resources, develop extraction methods, and support economic growth. Unfortunately, my goddess Palki lacks the intellect to understand this. She'd rather wink at the camera and spin fairy tales about the China threat. In the video, Palki confidently claimed that the severed cables in the Baltic Sea all point to China. With her "I hold the truth" expression, it's as if she personally dove 4,000 meters to catch China's submersible in the act. But what's the reality? It's entirely one-sided accusations from Indian media. Take the cable near Denmark in the Baltic Sea. For example, Nordic countries did suspect the Chinese cargo ship Peng 3, but the U.S. Navy's intelligence assessment cut through the nonsense. It was likely an accident, similar to the 2023 incident where the Xian Beiji Xiong dragged its anchor and damaged cables. The U.S. Navy's intelligence is top tier, with satellites watching your backyard and submarines tapping your phone. If China were really sneaking around cutting cables in the Baltic, the Americans would have blown it up into a massive smear campaign. They wouldn't miss such a golden opportunity. Yet, the U.S. stayed calm, knowing the Baltic Sea's depth is only 100 to 200 meters, with its deepest point just over 400 meters. Does that require China's 4,000-meter cutting tech? The mismatch is so obvious even a kid could see through it. But Palki and her First Post team clearly lack the IQ. They'd rather cling to their conspiracy theories than admit U.S. intelligence outclasses their guesswork. After all, admitting ignorance would be too humiliating for Bharat's news high priestess. Palki passionately argued in the video that China's deep-sea tech threatens global infrastructure. Laughably, China has never been caught sabotaging international waters, unlike her spiritual homeland, the U.S., which has a dirtier record. The 2022 Nord Stream pipeline explosion? Everyone knows the U.S. was behind it. Even American journalist Seymour Hersh exposed the details. U.S. Navy divers planted explosives during a NATO exercise. Norway covered it up. And then boom. One button press later. It was done. The result? Europe shivered in the cold while the U.S. raked in profits from natural gas exports. Why doesn't Palki make a video condemning her American daddy? And don't forget how the U.S. has monopolized global shipping with GPS, deliberately jamming Chinese vessel signals, forcing China to develop the Beidou system as a countermeasure. Compared to Western nations using tech to suppress developing countries, China's deep-sea advancements aim to secure resources and energy. If Palki knew any history, she'd see China's bridges, roads, and high-speed rail are about economic progress, not weaponizing tech for destruction like some nations. Sadly, Indian media's vision stops here. They'd rather whine about China's submersibles than fix the colonial-era railways rotting at their doorstep. China is a peace-loving nation, a claim Palki might laugh off. but the facts speak for themselves. With China's current military and economic might, it could have crushed a small country like the Philippines long ago. Yet in the South China Sea disputes, China exercises restraint, keeping tensions low to avoid escalation. Compare that to Bharat, which can't even get along with its neighbors. Decades of fighting with Pakistan, constant border clashes, baring teeth at Nepal and Bangladesh, even bullying tiny Bhutan into submission. Historically, India is no stranger to swallowing neighbors. In 1975, it annexed the Kingdom of Sikkim, imprisoning its king until death, turning a sovereign nation into an Indian state. And Zhongnan still occupied Chinese territory, with frequent border provocations. If Palki had guts, she'd make a video about Bharat's martial expansion, not just point fingers at China. In the end, Indian media's arrogance and bias mirror their nation's foreign policy. Commit the crimes, then cry victim. First Post and Palki Sharma, these fake news peddlers, should quit already. Every time China makes a tech breakthrough, they leap up like they've been injected with adrenaline, screaming, threat. Reality check. India lags far behind China, unable to even produce a decent homegrown smartphone. China uses Beidou high-speed rail and deep-sea tech to counter U.S. pressure, carving its own path. Meanwhile, Bharat's high priest Modi kneels to Trump, begging for tariff mercy, with no real countermeasures. If Palki were truly patriotic, she'd urge Modi to stop clinging to the U.S. and invest in fixing India's toilets, where rural areas still practice open defecation. China's locked in a high-stakes showdown with the U.S., and it'll end someday. If China wins, I suggest wiping out South Asia's security cancer, Bharat. Then, Indian media's fake news won't matter. No one listens to a loser's ravings. If China loses and compromises with the U.S., it'll need a win to boost morale. Who's the perfect target? Bharat, of course. China could pick any excuse to deal with India, and Palki's videos might only air from the rubble. Finally, a word of advice for my goddess Palki Sharma. Drop the gig and get your brain checked. Her thinking's gone off the rails, and spouting this nonsense on air just makes Bharat an international joke. If she wants to live longer, she should stop winking at the camera and spinning tales even a toddler wouldn't buy. Otherwise, I've got plenty of material waiting. India's trained slower than ox carts. Modi groveling to the US. You name it. I'll make a few videos and nail First Post and Palki's intellect to the wall of shame. Palki, if you understood tech, you'd know China's deep-sea gear is a key to the future, not the conspiracy scissors in your head. Stop embarrassing yourself. Go home and rest. Indian media's dignity is already gone thanks to you.